Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kendar the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my books and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And if you want to support me, that's on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 39 of A Familiar Death, the last chapter in the book. The council chamber looked much like it had the last time he'd been here, when Trembor had been at his side, when he told the council to go fuck themselves. The room was still large and austere, devoid of any charm, and, like that time, 11 of the 12 councillors were seated behind a large table. Naego still hadn't been replaced. They were all glaring at him. "What are you doing here?" Arleon asked, standing and leaning his weight on the table. "I heard you'd finally come to your senses and laughed." "I laughed because the investigation called for it, not because of anything you wanted. I came back for the same reason." "What investigation?" the Link asked. "Naego's unclaimed body." Someone scoffed. Arleon glowered. "What are you doing looking into that? That's Arana's case, not yours." Nods all around. Marlot thought Fernian looked particularly smug. "It is, but she let me stay on long enough to finish the line of investigation I'd begun." Fernian didn't seem bothered by that statement. "Then give her whatever it is you found and get out of my town. She can give me the result once she's gone over them." "I discussed it with her," Marlot lied, "and she felt it was best if I gave this report myself." It hadn't been much of a discussion. He told her he was coming. She said fine, that she had to leave for the night to look at a possible body elsewhere, and that he'd had better not be in town when she came back. "So what?" the tiger asked. "You're going to dazzle us with your investigative skill? Make a show of telling us how we each had a reason to kill him?" Marlot smiled at Fernian. "This isn't an entertainment show. I'm not going to make a production of anything. I'm going to tell you who killed him. You're not going to believe me. I'm going to explain why he did it. You're still not going to believe me. I'm going to give you the proof, and by then I'm not going to care what you do with it." "You actually expect us to believe that you found Naego's killer?" Ferlistine asked. Marlot didn't look at the Cougartus. His gaze remained on Fernian. "I did." Was the tiger beginning to look worried? "I find it interesting how you didn't bother bringing him with you," she said. Marlot shrugged. "I didn't have to. Fernian's already here." There was a moment of silence as everyone looked at him, so they didn't see the tiger's eyes go wide. Then someone laughed, mocking laughter. "Oh, this is rich," Philerin said. Of course you'd say one of us did it. We're the big bad council." The badger made scary noises, and the others laughed. The tiger's laughter sounded particularly loud to Marlot's ear. "Just get out of here before we decide to throw a defamation suit on you." "So you don't believe me? Do you take us for idiots?" the golden-furred wolfress said. "Of course we don't believe you. You're making this up as a way to get back at us." Marlot thought she was a relative of Marjolo. A great aunt, maybe? He couldn't be sure. There were four different wolf family in town. All right. So here's why he did it. Naego had proof Fernian had sex with a sheep. Everyone but the tiger gasped, and the females and the councillor all looked at him. "Oh, come on," the tiger exclaimed. "You're going to believe him, a tail raiser? You said it. He's just out to gut us. He'll say anything just so we'll turn on each other. I know for a fact that none of you would ever touch one of the farmers like that. I certainly wouldn't. They're prey." The indignation in his tone certainly worked to convince them not to look at him. "Is that so? So that's it?" Arleon said. "All you have are lies? You must really underestimate us if you think we'd go after one of our own on so little." "Right, because you had so much proof when you put Marjolo to death," Marlot said as he took out his pad. "Who?" the Link asked. Marlot looked at him and saw genuine surprise in Arleon's eyes. He didn't remember? He'd goaded the town into killing a cub and he'd forgotten about it? He wanted to go snap the neck right then, but instead he pulled up a file, the file he'd readied, and sent it to everyone in town. Let them try to cover this up. I've just sent you proof. One file is a video of Ferdinand having sex with the sheep. The other is the other is the payment trail for the hacker he paid to delete the evidence of his crime. Someone gasped, then another one, and another. This can't be real, Ferdinand said. It's got to be some sort of fabrication. Marlot smiled. The tiger was finally sounding scared. Not as much as he wanted, but at this point, he'd take the little he could get. Where did you get this? The female asked. Marlot didn't see who. A female asked. Marlot didn't see who he was looking at. Ferdinand. In the town's database, where all the video feeds are stored. It's impossible, Ferdinand stated, trying to keep his voice from shaking, but not succeeding. There shouldn't be anything there. Now Marlot looked away to see if anyone else cut the slip. Of all people, it was Arlian who was glaring at the tiger. What do you mean there shouldn't be anything? If this is a fabrication like you claim, you wouldn't be throwing shouldn't around. What did you do? I didn't do anything. He's lying. You know what this kind is like. Then why are you being so defensive? Marlot turned away and headed for the door. He didn't care what happened at this point, from this point forward. I'm not being defensive, the tiger yelled. You're accusing me based on some tail raiser's word and proof, Arlian yelled. What are those payment to a hacker for, if not to hide? The rest was cut off by the closing door. Marlot looked up at the darkening skies. Done. He was finally done with this place. He'd planned on driving directly home. It was only 3 hours. He should have made it, but halfway there he found he couldn't keep his eyes open anymore. He made it to a roadside motel where he'd lie down. He made it where he lied down. He lay down for a couple of hours. He told him. Where he lied down, where he'd lied. In that case, he made it to a sort where he lied down. Just for a couple of hours, he told himself. Only enough so he could make the rest of the trip. When he opened his eyes again, the sun was shining in his room. Even then, he had trouble forcing himself out of the bed. It wasn't like anything was waiting for him in the city. He tried calling Trembor and still couldn't connect. Trembor certainly wasn't waiting for him there. His one hope was that he'd catch him in the office. He'd be able to explain things to him there. He'd plead and beg. Whatever he needed to do, he would do it to fix this. He just had to see his lion. Because of his later starts, he hit all the bad traffic going into the city. And then, because Trembor wasn't there to navigate for him, it seemed like there was a construction everywhere, delaying him even more. When he finally parked in front of the lot in front of their office, he was disappointed Trembor's car wasn't there. Taking his pad out to lock his car, he saw he had a message from an anonymous sender. About Ferdinand was all the header said, and there was a link. From the structure of the address, you could tell it was from one of the news sites, and he considered ignoring it. He had more important things to do than finding out the tiger and managed to avoid all repercussions, but his curiosity got the better of it. He did want to know one way or the other. He verified that the link was authentic and not leading somewhere that would infect his pad, then access it. Councilor Ferdinand Striptail dies in his sleep, the headline read, and he left the site. He didn't need to know anything more. It would be a lie anyway. However it had happened, Ferdinand hadn't died peacefully in his sleep, and Marlot was pleased with that. That thought made him smile as he checked the lock on the office. Alanan was in, and he entered. Good morning, sir, she greeted him. It's good to see you. You're both back. Is Trembor here? He asked hopefully. He asked. Yeah, no, this. I know you're going to complain, but he asked, hopeful. Maybe one of his brothers had dropped him off? Not right now. He was already in when I arrived, but he left not long after. He seemed in a hurry. Should I let our Gisnabel know you're back, or do you want to settle in before dealing with your case? Let her know, he said, then headed in his office. Oh, sir, this came for you yesterday. She handed him an envelope with the Revenue Division logo on the top right corner. He felt the card in the envelope and groaned. He didn't want to have to deal with that again. He entered their office and closed the door, resting his forehead on it. He breathed in the sense of the room, and felt better with his lion's smell so strong here. He'd been terrified they would have been wiped clean out of his life. It wouldn't be easy, but so long as Trembor came back, Marlot had a chance to save what they had. He turned to head to his desk and froze. Trembor's side was empty. There was nothing on the desk. No computer, no pictures of his nephews and niece, not even a mug, the mug in which he kept his numerous claw files. They were all gone. He stepped to a drawer, to the desk, and opened a drawer, empty. He looked around the room, and the only thing left in it of his lion was his scent. His knees buckled, and he was leaning against the desk, his eyes growing wet. His pad buzzed. He glanced at it, but couldn't make out the name through the tears. Yes? Mr. Blackclaw, a woman asked. Yes, he answered hollowly. This is Rosalan. I'm not sure if you remember me from affiliate housing. We spoke a few days ago. I remember you. Found himself dreaded what she'd say. Well, I just received this listing, and I think it's going to be perfect for you. It has 4-bedroom, 1 office. There are 3 bathrooms, storage in the basement, and best of all, it has the large yard you were... Please stop. Marlot could barely get the rest out. I'm not going to need a house anymore. And this concludes A Familiar Death. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next book will be starting, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the story as well as the others in the series, they are available on all major e-retailer. If you're looking for a different way to support me, that is on Patreon, where you can also get access to just about everything else I've written. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. Links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.